So in this video, I'm going to do something a little more personal, and I want to really talk to you guys about my story and where I came from. And I don't really love talking about myself, but I do think it's important if you're considering, buying into one of the programs, or you're just considering taking my guidance to heart on any of these things. I think it's important for you to know sort of where I came from and how I ended up where I am today and what that looked like. I also want to encourage you to leave a comment with any questions you have. I'm sure that I'm going to keep this as concise as possible while also trying to give you the information that comes to mind for me. But I am more than happy to answer any questions that you all have. So please just leave a comment, and I'm happy to comment back, or we can message and talk about some of the nuances here. So I think starting at the end makes the most sense. And really, to put it into perspective and sort of wrap it up, currently today, I run two different programs: a career development program, which helps individuals land their first Salesforce job. We have people who they come with no certifications, with no idea really what Salesforce is, other than you can make good money and have a flexible job with Salesforce, and we help people to do that very quickly. Typically, we aim for less than 100 days. It's called a 6-month program, but it's very, very typically under 100 days that we can get you into that first job, making over $60,000. The other thing we do is a career progression program where we can teach you how to freelance, how to land senior internal positions, how to become a Salesforce consultant for a firm, and make 100K, 200K plus in your Salesforce career. And most importantly, teach you how to make sure that you don't get sidetracked or you don't get complacent in your career, and you really level up and get to those big numbers that you hear about. But before all that, and still today, I have my own freelancing company, and I do Salesforce independent consulting. And over the last couple of years, I've made over $200,000 a year working 15 to 20 hours a week as a Salesforce independent consultant, or a Salesforce freelancer, whatever you want to call it. And I think telling you the end result is important to sort of understanding the journey that got me here. So I would love it if you would stay tuned for understanding where I came from and how I got to where I am today. So now that you know the end, it ends with, making double six figures, working part-time, fully remote, no independent, no contractors working for me or anything like that. And that's where we end up. And then now creating these programs, and I'll sort of explain why I created these programs, and it'll make sense if you sort of hear the story. So I grew up in a small town, Villa Rica, Georgia, out in sort of rural West Georgia. And I went to school there. Obviously, I grew up on a cattle farm. And so I grew up with really no access to electronics. We had a TV, but no cable or anything like that. I had a black and white TV until I was maybe 12 years old. And when I started college, my parents invested in a laptop for me. And so I went to college at a local university, the University of West Georgia, out in Carrollton, Georgia. And I still live with my parents, and I went to college, and I had my laptop, and I was starting to learn about using computers. And I was familiar with it. We had a desktop in the house that we could maybe like write a book report on or something like that, but never really getting on the internet or anything like that. We didn't have smartphones. And this was back in maybe 2008, 2009. And I'm going to college, and I was excited about learning, and I enjoyed school. And I went for an economics degree. And the whole time, college had been poised to me as a return on investment. The entire point was to get a degree in order to make the most possible income. And I don't know if that was the right perception to have of college, but I can tell you that the first thing that my college required that I do was attend a seminar. And this seminar was a 1-hour talk about how going to college and getting a degree, you're going to make far more money than people who never go to college. So immediately going into college, my high school guidance counselor was helping me to select the career that would pay me the most money based on my grades. and my interests. And then college was basically telling me that you need to finish this degree or you're not going to make nearly as much money in life as you possibly can. So while now looking back, I do think that college is more of an institution of learning and learning topics and subjects from a variety of sort of subject areas. But college didn't paint it that way. We were learning these particular subjects in order to make money. So it was very much a return on investment attitude. And my college degree, tuition over what ended up being 4 years and one more semester, so 4.5 years, amounted to, even living at home, amounted to just over $100,000 for all of that time spent there. And of course, with the availability of student loans, you never think about that money. I mean, you think about it a little bit, but you also know you have to finish college. You're going to make all this money, and that's why you're doing this. It's a return on investment play. And so I finished college. I graduated, and I was excited. And I applied for jobs within about a 50-mile radius of where I lived. So I was looking for jobs all the way out to Atlanta and west, really just about all the way to, I was even looking towards like Birmingham, Alabama, and really just everything in between to try to find openings where I would be considered. And I probably applied for, honestly, probably 500 to 600 openings, but I had no direction. I had no vision. I was applying for whatever I thought my major could get me. I was applying for the list of 20 careers that a Bachelor of Economics will make you, qualified for. I got not one single interview. I had one person email me back and basically tell me that I was not a good fit. And I really had no idea what to do. I ended up going to a temp agency down the street, and they got me a job making $7 an hour, working in the operations center at a bank. And I worked there for about 6 months, and it was fun to get involved in a company and work a job and get a steady paycheck, no benefits or anything like that, but get a steady paycheck. But it was not amounting to what I thought it would be. I was working full time and making about $14,000 a year, and I wasn't seeing these $50 or $60 or $70,000 jobs that I thought I was supposed to see. And so while I was working over those 6 months, I continued to apply for everything that I could possibly find. I mean, I did not care if it had anything to do with economics or anything to do with my career. I was looking for something other than walking down and sitting down at my cubicle in the operations center at the bank. And I ended up getting a call back for a job I had applied for as a junior Salesforce administrator role. I had no idea what that meant. I did not care. It was a company in my area that had this role open. And they ended up calling me back, and I had a 1-question phone interview. And it was, tell me what you know about business processes. And I was stunned. I had no idea what that meant. I did my best to answer. I honestly don't remember. This was over 10 years ago now. What I said, it wasn't pretty. I'll put it that way. The person on the call, who ended up being my mentor for a long time, his name was Jeff Richards, and he was pivotal in my Salesforce career as a whole, because he gave me so much mentorship and guidance forward. But at the time, he sort of coached me a little bit on the call, like told me what he was looking for an answer. But I know I bombed it. So I ended up going and getting married to my, at the time, fiance. We went on a trip and we got married, and I was very frugal. I made $14,000 a year. She was still in college. And I was very frugal, and I left my phone at home, because I didn't want to get charged. We were going to Jamaica to get married, and I didn't want to get charged for any incoming text messages. So I did not bring my phone. When I got home, this was maybe 10 days later, I had a lot of voicemails. And I'll say this was probably a month after that phone interview. So I thought that job was total. I mean, I assumed I had bombed the interview, so I assumed they would never call me again. And they happened to have called me, and they wanted to get me to do a project to see if I could fit the position. And I missed all those calls, and I called him back, and lo and behold, I got to talk to this gentleman, Jeff Richards, again. And he told me that basically what I came to find out is that they had offered the position to the person they wanted to give it to, but they took a different offer. He went to a different company. The second person that they offered the job to was from internally at the company. And that person transferred over, worked for a couple of weeks, and then decided they would rather go back to their old job. And they transferred back over to their old department. And I was actually the third person on the list. And really the only reason I was the third person was because they hadn't interviewed anyone else, because they had two people already that they felt comfortable hiring, but both of those people fell through. And so they just ended up calling me, and I got my shot. And that was, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it luck. You can call it just getting a break. You can call it destiny. But whatever you want to call it, I ended up getting the call. And I remember them saying, hey, Brad, we want to set up a go-to meeting with you. And at the time, I had no idea what go-to meeting was. I remember looking at my wife and saying, I got a call. They said they want to go to meeting. I think that means like I need to go meet them somewhere, but I don't know where he wants me to meet him. And I ended up emailing them and saying, hey, I know you said you wanted to go to a meeting, but I don't know where you want to meet me. And then they explained what a go-to meeting was. So that's how out of touch I was with the virtual world, that you could have these online meetings, which is also normal now, but 10 years ago, being a college kid, I had no idea what any of this stuff was. And looking back, my college prepared me for thinking this perception that I was going to get a return on investment, but they didn't do anything to help me prepare for jobs with a Bachelor of Economics. They did nothing to prepare me for interviews. They helped me build a resume, but I remember the person who helped me build the resume was a sophomore English major who worked in the, critical writing help department, that had never actually had a job and had never actually applied for jobs themselves. And so these were just boilerplate, get it off Google resumes. And it didn't help me differentiate myself at all. So as soon as I graduated from college, I was bottom of the barrel, made $14,000 a year, had no vision for where I was going to go. And I went through the interview process. I did a project for this company, and they hired me. And I made $36,000 a year plus benefits, and I was thrilled. From there, in the first 3 months, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what Salesforce was. I was trying to learn it as quickly as I could. And I was getting overwhelmed and I wanted to quit. But because this was benefits for myself and my wife, this had a 401k plan that I could invest in, and all those benefits, I held on. And I'm lucky I did, because after 3 months, everything really started to click for me. And I'm going to take a quick look at my notes here just to make sure that I'm tracking okay. I'm kind of covering this stuff. I know I'm a little long-winded here, but that's all right. I really want you guys to hear my story. So I get this job and I start working, and we have a consulting firm. They're working with us, and I'm talking to these Salesforce consultants, and they're telling me, hey, Brad, stick it out. Don't you dare quit on this job. This is your future. You can have an amazing career in Salesforce. And I didn't have anybody else giving me any career coaching. So this is the only coaching I had. So I just took their advice, because I was getting advice from no one else. And I was 22 years old when I landed that first job and making $36,000. Things went up very quickly. By 25, I landed my first job making over $100,000 plus bonuses. And this was at 25 years old, and I had never dreamed of making a six-figure income. My dad made $90,000 a year. I thought very highly of my dad and his career aspirations and what he had done with his career. And immediately at 25 years old was making more than my dad in his 60s. And I could not believe it. And I never took that for granted. I mean, chances are I did take it for granted at times, but overall I knew that this was unbelievable. And I thought that I was the only one. I thought nobody else is doing this. And I was pretty young for being in the consulting firms. And I thought, I got lucky. I figured this out. I had imposter syndrome. I don't belong here. I don't belong around the people that I'm surrounded with. These are very high profile consultants. They have all this super duper knowledge that I have no idea what it is. And I really thought, okay, well, this is as good as it gets. I'm making $100,000 plus, 25 years old. This is as good as it gets. I worked there for a couple of years, and at 27, my wife and I became pregnant, and we were getting ready to have our daughter. And I realized I'm working these 40, 50, 60-hour weeks at the consulting company. I'm making great money. It's awesome. It's a great career. I'm climbing this ladder. But as the time approached for my daughter to actually be born, I realized this is not the life I want to be a dad. I don't want to get off work at 6 o'clock and see my daughter and she goes to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock and I get to see her for 2 hours a day. That did not compute with me. It didn't make sense. I wanted to give parenting everything I had. I wanted to spend time with her. And I knew this wasn't going to work. So I ended up looking for a part-time job as a Salesforce administrator. Again, I never expected to make 100K plus. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to accept making half of what I make now. And I may not be able to have the luxuries that I have. Maybe I won't have as nice of a car or as big of a house or as many vacations, but I will have time with my daughter. And that is going to be more important to me than anything. I knew that making that decision would not be something I would regret, but I knew that sticking out the job and working and not seeing my daughter would be something that I could very well regret. I didn't know for sure I would regret it, but I knew there was a good chance. And so I figured I better make sure to take this option that I have in front of me to make half as much money. So I took a part-time job, working 20 hours a week and making $60,000 at a local company. And I created that job. A lot of people ask me, well, Brad, how do you get a part-time job? I found the company on LinkedIn. I found that some of the people who worked there had Salesforce in their title. They were not hiring. I reached out to them. I said, I live right down the road. I would love to talk to you guys about what I can do for you. I'm a Salesforce consultant, but for some, specific life reasons, I am looking to make less money and get a lot of work done for you. But I have some, negotiations I would like to do around how much I work and when I work and those kind of things. And they were open-minded enough to say, okay. And I did that with about 3 people, and a couple of them said no. Nobody laughed me out of the room, but a couple of companies said no. But one company said, yeah, absolutely. We will do that. And so I started working with them, and I realized I was getting that job done very quickly. They had me on the hook for 20 hours a week, but I was getting that job done in a very short period of time. Probably 2 hours a day, maybe 10 hours a week. If I just stayed focused and got the work done, I got it done very quickly. So I realized I was still on the hook for them from 8 in the morning until about 12 noon. And so I still felt inclined to be in front of my computer and make sure I was there to, field emails or calls or be on meetings or whatever it was. And a lot of that time was just sort of spent on Trailhead or, studying some different things to further myself. And I thought, maybe I could pick up a client. Maybe I could pick up one client and still get it done between 8 and 12. And so that birthed the beginning of my freelance career. And since then, I've developed that forward into what we know today as me working 20 hours a week. I stayed within that 20-hour, 8 to 12 time frame, and have turned that into over $200,000 a year through some very specific strategy and techniques that I've utilized to get to that point. And what happened was I had started the Salesforce for Everyone Facebook group. I love talking to people about Salesforce and careers. I had started now recently in the last year, the Salesforce for Everyone YouTube channel, and I was doing everything I could to help tell other people about Salesforce. And very quickly I realized there are so many Salesforce job openings, and I see so many people saying they can't land Salesforce jobs. And I started noticing some issues that I knew about. People thinking that getting a certification would get them a job, people not understanding the ecosystem, people not understanding the power of LinkedIn, people not knowing how to get real world experience. And I figured I need to turn around and give back. There's no reason. I never dreamed of making $100,000, much less $200,000. I was happy to make $60,000. And opportunity just comes to you in the Salesforce space. And I've seen so many people who are not able to take advantage of that opportunity. And I just want to make that more available to people. And that's what we've been doing through the career development program and the career progression program, teaching people to freelance, teaching people to land their first jobs, teaching people about the Salesforce ecosystem and the possibility there. So all of that to go back to say, everything that I've experienced, my college not giving me the interview preparation I needed, or the portfolio building, or the LinkedIn guidance, or the ability to have an amazing resume and showcase my skill. And I just decided that that is what I had to do for everyone else, and that I could create something repeatable, a methodology to land jobs, a methodology to build freelancing client, secure clients for freelancing, a methodology around being a senior Salesforce consultant or a senior Salesforce professional internally for a company. And that's what we built, and that's who we're helping. And I wanted to give this background to show you that I really have walked in a lot of the shoes that I try to coach. I'm not one of these people who's trying to tell people how to do something I've never done before. I'm really trying to teach people how to repeat the steps that I've been so fortunate to be able to repeat, and trying to give guidance to help people take something that seems completely impossible. It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like it must be a scam or multi-level marketing scheme or something, because you don't just make $60,000 to $80,000 at your first job, or whatever it is. But it does happen. And we've got some amazing testimonials on the YouTube channel to explain that. And we don't pay these people. They feel like they owe us, and they don't, but they feel like they want to do something to give back. And so we do these testimonials, and we've had people, Daniel landing, 4 job offers in less than 35 days through our program. We have people who, we had one member who was a part-time worker at Walmart and now makes over $60,000 a year as a Salesforce professional in under 100 days. And we have so many unique stories like that to truly show that Salesforce is for everyone. I am pretty well dedicating my part-time career to making sure that everyone knows that this is available to them, and trying to give the guidance to help you move forward in your Salesforce profession. So leave a comment. Let me know if I didn't explain something, all the way through the way it could have been explained. If you have any questions about my journey, if you have any questions about the programs and how they can help you, I'm here to help. That's the whole reason that I'm here. My number one goal is to help as many people as possible who are ready to be helped and are ready to be guided, and they're ready to listen and take the steps forward to honestly dominate a Salesforce career. So thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate your support and watching these videos, and I definitely look forward to hearing from you. So thank you.